Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I appreciate you being here. I almost feel like sometimes we have a relationship every time we get together. Definitely have a relationship with Allison because she's fantastic, a fantastic life coach. And we're going to talk about relationships, close relationships. I'm not talking just about romantic relationships, but those relationships in general, why they're so important for us and our mental health and our wellness and everything. Allison Cowan is with Purposeful Pathways Life Coaching, and it's great to have you back, Allison. How's it going?
Thank you. It's so good to see you, Steve. It's been a while, couple of weeks, off sick and then technical problems. And so it's so good to be here as always.
Yeah. It's super cool. It's like just getting together with a friend, just hanging out and talking.
Yeah,
and
it is.
And other people around us, but we don't see them. And what we're talking about today is based on a study that you came across from Harvard, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's a Harvard study of adult development. It is in its 85th year. So thousands and thousands of people have been tracked and interviewed over that time. And there has been an 84% retention rate. So over 85 years, an 84% retention rate. So they haven't lost people. And what they have found that the key to happiness, health, and longevity are close relationships.
I'm not surprised because we are social beings. Mm-hmm. Let's define close relationships, even within that study. What would we say is a close relationship?
When I went through the study, it did go into, since this has been going on, for so many years, that things have changed lately where we're not in contact with people as much as we used to be because of social media, television, any sort of outside distraction. So we're not really connecting with people like we used to. But they just define a close relationship as somebody that means a lot to you, that you treasure. There was a lot about marriages, but it doesn't have to take on any special type of form as long as there's that closeness and there's that something that you treasure, about the other person, and they hold a lot of meaning to you.
And you care about them and they care about you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that caring is the key part of the relationship, because we all have, or we could have relationships with people, but they might be just surface. You know somebody, maybe you talk to them every once in a while. Do you really care about them? Like, I know a dude from the gym, he'll call me every once in a while. I'll call him. Maybe we'll get together. I care about him. Actually calls me his therapist. He doesn't care. But there's different levels of the caring. Or there'll be, I have 3 friends, all women, and we're in a chat and we're just friends and we just talk. One of them's going through a medical procedure today, so we're talking about that. It's interesting when you think about, you take a moment to take stock, inventory, if you will, in your relationships. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but to categorize them,
I definitely believe in that. Like, I see relationships in concentric circles.
Yeah.
And, I have my inner circle. And myself personally, my close relationships, I want to be able to keep within a hand,
Sure.
And there's that one level out of a new circle where they're so close, but not like necessarily the first person you're going to turn to. And then there becomes acquaintances.
Yeah.
And just people because you've met in passing, and you know their name, you see them, hi, how are you?
You know what
So
I just got? I got this, Allison, a visual with what you just said in terms of the circles. And I turned that into planets in my mind. And what's going on with the galaxy? It's always turning. There's always, movement,
ooh,
because some of those planets, some of those circles, you may be close at one point, then they kind of move away a little further from you, but then sometimes they may come back, and then they may get closer to somebody else over here that's in your world. And then it's kind of all kind of evolving, moving. It's always
that's
moving
a
around.
lovely, I love that, Steve. That is just like a lovely, because I know that I can speak about one of my friends. We've been friends for over 30 years. We raised our children together. We were always together. And then we drifted apart. And I call it a COVID blessing, um, because, everybody's isolated, locked down. And over the last few years, we've gotten in touch and we talk almost every day.
Mm,
It was like we just picked up where we left off. And it's
yeah.
a very treasured relationship.
Well,
So,
that's how you know it's a true friend,
mhm.
where you can pick up like no time went by in
Yeah,
between.
yeah.
And I really I heard this for the first time. It's been around forever, but in the last couple of years, I heard here for a reason, here for a season. And just like we talk about the planets, sometimes there's a reason that they came into your life, and then sometimes there's a reason they went out of your life. And I can clearly identify them. And it's weird when I think about it. I had a relationship with somebody who was a nurse, and friends for a while, not so much close anymore, just because. But
Mhm.
I had some medical stuff going on, and she was there, and she was helpful at that time. Like, what are the chances?
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
a reason, here for a season, here for a reason. There was a reason for that. And then I just looked at a picture from last summer of a bunch of people in my living room before a concert. I'm near a venue, and there were maybe like 10 people, but out of those 10, we're down to 6. And these are relatively new people in the last 2 years. In fact, all of them are.
Mhm.
Where did the 4 go? Well, it just, and that they went away. One moved, but they left our lives for other reasons. They had challenges, issues. We're there for them, but it's just they're not that close with the rest of us. So
Mhm.
I think it's continually evolving. But you're right. You have that really tight, small circle of those close, decade long friendships and relationships where they're always going to be there. You
Mhm.
trust them with anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's the study really put together what worked for people, what made them happy. And um, because our memories over time, are full of holes. People forget details, and the older we get, the more we forgot. And then we can also um, reframe a memory. So something that was, I often think about, now this is really dating me. Um, there was a show when I was young called The Wonder Years.
Yeah, I remember it.
And it was an adult looking back on their life as a child, and
Mm,
how we can easily see things differently than as time goes on. Um, so
mm. I
um,
love that. And it's often been said you should confront yourself as if you were a child. What would you say to yourself? What would you say to yourself? Maybe we should do this now, right now. When
okay,
you talk about the Wonder Years, if your younger self was in front of you, pick it, you're 10,
okay.
sitting right in front of us right now. There's you, there's me. What would you tell them? What would you tell your younger self? Want me to go first?
No, I would tell my younger self, um, um, to trust myself, not believe the thoughts that are going through my head that
Hmm.
nobody really put there. Um, and, just people did like me. People did want to be with me. People did, I was like so shy and so, which is hard to believe now. But, I, had a lot of social anxiety. And I would just tell myself now it's unwarranted.
Yeah.
Um, it's
I kind of would
completely
say the same.
unwarranted.
Same thing. I was bullied. I was, quiet, shy, all of that. And I probably would say to myself, don't worry what people think ever.
Mhm,
You're always there for yourself. You always got you.
mhm.
Um, and have confidence. Number
Yeah.
one thing. And it's tough to say because when you go through all those things that lead you to not having confidence, it's hard to say, have confidence. But, and I guess that also comes from don't worry what people think.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Why'd you worry about it? Why? Wasted. But
It's
you
an
have to go through that.
interesting question because it's one of the questions that is often asked in coaching. What, and I know we're kind of like veering off a little bit, but that's okay. But we just went into our past selves.
Hmm.
Normally, or oftentimes, what would your future self thank you for?
Mm.
So if you were making a choice, a decision, wanting to, um, whatever a person desires, whatever the outcome they would like, what will your future self thank you for?
That's even better than talking to your younger self.
It is
Wow.
because we can't
Uh,
change the past. Um,
yeah. All
change.
right. All right. So what do you think? Want to try that one?
Um, sure. So I just read an article or skimmed an article about an NFL player who played for the Titans and Pittsburgh. And I have his name and I can find it, who then decided to become a neurosurgeon and started taking things small steps at a time. So he called them 2%
Hmm.
increments. And I've seen this before. And over time, he has accomplished it. And my future self, allowing myself to think in smaller increments rather than I have this huge, huge idea. If I'm thinking in smaller increments, I can get things done. So my future self will thank me for actually
Hmm.
completing projects.
We're on the same level because I had that thought recently. Um, I will say before I entertain that thought, my future self would say to me, good job for staying strong. Good job. Because if you asked me this question 5 years ago, I would never say that.
Mhm.
And the small steps, when I look back, even in the last 6 months, just broadly, I say, like, really, like, go slow progress on a lot of things. What is really going on here? But when you start looking at the details, where you were, where you are, look at the little details. It's like, oh, wow, check that out. Where you were 6 months ago, where you are now, in whatever journey it is, whether it's personally, professionally. And
Yeah.
then you see for a second, you say, that's pretty awesome. Okay. All right. But you got to look at those small steps.
Yeah.
Even 3 months ago in my journey, I look at that and I'm like, that was then. This is now. This is wow, kind of remarkable in some ways. Okay. All right. So just stay the course.
Well, and I often think about us together, like having been, all these podcasts that we've been doing, it was something I really didn't know that I would thoroughly enjoy as much as I'm enjoying it. And, each, you've helped me, and each step of the way, I've become more confident and look forward to every Thursday. And, how long it takes me to kind of have some ideas together. And they were small steps.
Sure. Yeah.
That brought me to something that I would have never, ever believed.
Right. I feel the same exact way. I've been doing these podcasts for about a year now. And prior, I would have never even thought, like, I love it. It's great. Talking to people, learning things. And, I guess it goes back to, we're talking about close relationships. It's those small steps in those relationships, that help you cultivate them, but you have to put some effort into it. I literally just texted somebody before. She popped in my head. Last summer, we and a bunch of other people would hang out all the time. She was my trainer at the gym for some time, just all friends. Haven't heard from her, and because again, the planets are moving, but it's taking that step to reach out to somebody, those small steps to connect again and bring in those close relationships. Because I think that 85-year study from Harvard is on point. It really is.
And it is. And they said the most significant one life investment. Good relationships and close personal connections ensure health,
yeah,
and happiness. And they're warm relationships. They're people that you want to be close to. It started off, like, I don't want to go into the whole study because it goes into a lot of different details, but over decades, they just really found that the key to happiness is having.
Yeah. It's all there.
And
so maybe this is a wake-up call. What do you think, Allison, for all of us to even take that time to send that text to somebody you haven't talked to, or a few people, even just to say, hey, just checking in, how's it going?
Pick up the phone.
Well, then there's that. Thank you for saying that. It's like, people don't do that. Yeah.
Is a text, like, I text. I'm weird with my texts. Like, everything has to be like, I'm not one of those who uses
abbreviations
and
like, I don't either. And when I do, I just think, let me see what it looks like. Even if I'm texting my daughter, I'll just pop it in there and I send it. And it just seems so impersonal. Like, it's just not cool. Not cool.
Things get lost in translation with text. And I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Where if somebody is like, well, what did you mean by that? They're not able to ask that question. I'm not I'm not sure. So, sometimes it's like there's a text and you're just like, what, so just pick up. It would take just as much time to pick up the phone and talk for 10 minutes than to compose that text that for me would take 10 minutes to
yes compose. But you know what,
I'm so worried about my punctuation.
Think about how more impactful it would be that you took the time to reach out to somebody. That's your goal. That's what we're talking about. Your close relationships. Maybe it was a relationship that was close, and we get busy. I get it. But think about, people don't do it. And it's everywhere. Like if I got a phone call now from somebody who I haven't talked to in a while, just the person I'm talking about today that I sent a text to, probably should call her. She is a texter, but if she were to call me right now, I kid you not, I would think something's wrong because I haven't heard, not a normal thing, but break
But
through
then,
the.
and then maybe a prior text. Hey, I'm going to be calling you. Nothing's wrong. I just
I
wanted to
agree. Yep. Yep.
what's a good time?
Yeah. Yeah. Just checking in. Hey, want to catch up? Got a couple of minutes. Send. That's it. I
Yeah.
hate to say
No.
it, but you could copy and paste the same exact text for three people, and
Yeah, you could. You
just make
could.
that just that your intent is the same, just reconnecting or rekindling that relationship, or maybe even trying to make it even closer. Maybe you have one that you feel it should be, and it's not for whatever reason. Why not take the time? And in the Harvard study, any other things there that stand out? Within, I know that when it's a Harvard study, it gets very very deep. Um,
Right. One of the things is they have been asking questions and tracking octogenarians, so people in their 80s. And they would, if they were married couples or they were in, they had close relationships, and they were following them, from decade to decade. And the fact that they have been asking questions from people through those decades into their 80s, and the
hmm,
people in their 80s are saying that the key to health and happiness and longevity are close relationships, and that um, we're not meant to be isolated. It's
yeah,
by human nature. Isolation brings stress. And when people are not isolated and they have these close relationships, um, even if there are fluctuations, like especially as people are in their getting older, they may have more pain, they may have other ailments, but having the close relationship lessens it. So it adds a buffer. There's like a buffer because of the relationship. And I think about my parents whenever I think about this,
hmm,
and the things they've gone through and the health scares. And they just were always there for each other. We were all there for each other. And it's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
They are a case study.
It is so true. It's so true, and even more because of COVID. And if
Yeah.
you look at the research, there's more and more isolation and
And
more loneliness now because of it. We didn't recover from that. We recovered from COVID, but not that.
yeah. Um, and and I do think, again, like the Harvard study did talk about, the fact that, we live in a different time with where we're distracted with social media, all of these other things. And they're not saying anything's wrong with it, but um, one of the things that they mentioned, and I'm going to try to figure if I can say this correctly. Um, because earlier we had talked about how in positive psychology, like 7 hours per day being in contact with other humans. And if a 40-year-old sees a loved one time per week for an hour, um, and it's going to sound a little bit misconstrued because, you know, before turning 80, they would have spent only 87 hours
Wow.
with somebody that they care about. If it was 1 hour per month, 20 days between 40 and 80. One time per year for an hour, it really only ends up being 2 days. And I know that sounds a little, you know, it's more clear in the study, but we are spending less and less time with people.
I think we end on that. Wow. Wow. When you think of that, 40 years and 80 hours. Um, like, wow. It's
And
mind
if you
blowing.
think about 7 hours, like now they did mention, because of where we are, things are more difficult. Um, that adjustments can be made. Um, we easily fall for that shiny allure of smartphones and, how many, I
Yep.
mean, we talked about it before where, people aren't communicating on their phones. But our relationships are the most valuable tool for
Yeah.
sustaining health and happiness.
And there it is. And it
And
doesn't,
investing that time, and it will affect everything about how you live the rest of your life.
doesn't get more credible than Harvard. And if anybody is having any challenges or they want to better navigate their life, relationships, whether they're professional, personal, I know you're always available. Purposeful Pathways, lifecoaching.com. Glad we talked about this today, and I'm actually going to share it with friends. Not even kidding. I think we should.
No, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
You know,
I seriously am going to don't laugh. It's almost counterintuitive, but I am going to post that on social media because that's how people are going to see it anyway.
yeah,
But
and
now it's staring you in the face. Put that phone down and go make a phone call,
yeah,
or
and
use
I
your phone, but stop texting.
and I have like something that I'm ready to post on social media. I would like to actually start a group where people who are feeling isolated. It's just like a friendship thing.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea.
But I first want to put out a webinar. So I'm working on the webinar right now because so that people can have an understanding about why this is important. And then, what matters to them and what, people may want to. I know for me, I wouldn't care what age group, but somebody might. So some questions
Sure.
that I'll
I think that's wonderful. And even next time we get together, we're out of time. And
we always are.
the people in the control room are no longer going to be my friends if we keep talking. But always great, Allison, having you with us and your insights. And what an important thing we talked about today. I really mind blowing there when you take a look at the age 40 to age 80 and the interaction with those close to you. Purposeful Pathways, lifecoaching.com. Look forward next time we get together, Allison.
I can't wait.
Yep.
Thank you so
Same
much.
here. All right.
Bye,
Talk to you
everyone.
soon. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.